The massive ships appeared on a quiet Tuesday morning, their dark hulls blotting out the sun over major cities across Earth. They hung in the sky like metal mountains, casting long shadows over the bustling streets below. The world stood still, all eyes turned upward, as humanity faced its first contact with alien life. Admiral James Thompson stood at the window of the United Nations Security Council chamber, his weathered hands clasped behind his back. After 30 years in the military, he had always known this day would come. He just hadn't expected it so soon. The alien transmission came simultaneously to every digital device on Earth, broadcasting in perfect English. People of Earth, we are the Dominion Empire, rulers of 1,000 worlds across this galaxy. Your planet has been chosen for integration into our empire. Resistance is futile. We have conquered worlds for 10,000 years. You have 1 hour to surrender your governing authority. Inside the UN chamber, representatives from every nation sat in stunned silence. The Russian delegate was the first to speak. They expect us to decide the fate of humanity in 1 hour. No, Thompson said, turning to face the assembly. They expect us to surrender in 1 hour. There's a difference. His calm voice carried across the room. I suggest we ask for more time. The Chinese representative nodded slowly. Agree. We should request time for proper diplomatic discussion. The UN Secretary-General stepped up to the communication platform. His voice was steady as he delivered humanity's first official response to an alien species. Honored representatives of the Dominion Empire, we request 48 hours to properly discuss your generous offer among our world's nations. The response came quickly. Granted. You have 48 hours to formalize your surrender. As soon as the transmission ended, Thompson pulled out his phone. This is Admiral Thompson. Initialize Protocol Omega. We have 48 hours. Similar calls were being made across the globe as military leaders activated plans that had existed for decades. Plans for this exact scenario. Within hours, submarines silently slipped into strategic positions in Earth's oceans. Military satellites adjusted their orbits ever so slightly. Underground bunkers hummed to life as ancient computers booted up, running programs designed during the Cold War but updated for modern warfare. The Dominion ships remained stationary, their sensors detecting only routine human activities. Television broadcasts, internet traffic, and civilian communications. They didn't notice the subtle shift in military radio frequencies or the careful positioning of seemingly innocent weather satellites. 47 hours into the waiting period, the Dominion's Supreme Commander grew impatient. These primitives dare to make us wait. Let's show them the cost of disrespect. He ordered a demonstration strike on New York City. Just one ship, one weapon, to show Earth's defenders their futility. The alien weapon charged up, its energy signature lighting up military sensors across the globe. But before it could fire, something unexpected happened. The weather satellites revealed their true nature, their outer shells falling away to expose orbital defense platforms. Years of classified military spending had finally found its purpose. The Dominion ship fired its weapon at New York, only to watch it dissipate against an energy shield that shouldn't have existed on such a primitive world. Before they could process this impossibility, Earth's orbital platforms opened fire. The Supreme Commander watched in horror as his demonstration ship erupted in flames, split apart by weapons that, according to their intelligence, Earth shouldn't have possessed for another century. Impossible, he roared, staring at the tactical display. They're barely a Type 1 civilization. They haven't even colonized their own solar system. Admiral Thompson stood in the Pentagon's command center, watching the same scene with grim satisfaction. Send the message, he ordered. Every screen on the Dominion ships suddenly displayed the same text. Protocol Omega activated. You were warned. You had 48 hours to reconsider. Welcome to Earth. You're about to learn why our species invented the phrase F*** around and find out. The remaining Dominion ships began powering up their weapons. But as they did, thousands of missile silos opened across Earth's surface. Humanity had spent centuries preparing for war among themselves. Now those preparations would serve a greater purpose. The real battle for Earth was about to begin, and humanity was ready to show the galaxy why you should never underestimate a species that had spent its entire history preparing for every possible way to fight. The Dominion's main fleet hung in Earth's orbit, still reeling from the loss of their demonstration ship. Their sensors blazed with warnings as thousands of missiles launched from Earth's surface, creating a beautiful but terrifying display of human military might. Primitive projectile weapons. The Dominion fleet commander laughed, watching the missiles approach. "Our shields will." His words died in his throat as the first wave of missiles split open mid-flight, releasing dozens of smaller warheads each. The humans had mastered MIRV technology decades ago, and now they were putting it to its intended use. The Dominion's energy shields, designed to stop energy weapons and single projectiles, struggled against the sheer volume of incoming threats. Nuclear warheads detonated in carefully planned patterns, creating overlapping waves of destruction that overwhelmed the alien defenses. Down in the Cheyenne Mountain bunker, General Tom Baker watched the battle unfold on massive screens. Who would have thought the Cold War arms race would end up saving humanity? He mused as another Dominion ship erupted in flames. All those years of paranoia, building enough nukes to destroy our world 10 times over. Turns out we were preparing for the right war, just the wrong enemy. The Dominion fleet attempted to regroup, but Earth's defense grid had been centuries in the making. Hidden missile platforms on the moon, disguised as research stations, opened fire. Anti-satellite weapons, long banned by international treaties but secretly maintained, revealed their true purpose. Impossible. The fleet commander slammed his fist on his command console. Their technological level. They shouldn't have these capabilities. Our scouts reported they were still arguing about space exploration. A junior officer spoke up, his voice shaking. "Sir, we're detecting thousands of smaller ships launching from Earth's surface." The officer's screen showed squadrons of fighter jets, their designs modified over decades of warfare, now equipped with hastily adapted alien technology salvaged from the first destroyed ship. The humans had done in hours what took other species years. They'd looked at alien tech and immediately found ways to make it better at killing. How? The fleet commander demanded. How are they adapting so quickly? The answer came in the form of a worldwide broadcast, hijacking the Dominion's own communication systems. The message was simple, delivered by a grinning human engineer standing next to a gutted piece of Dominion technology. "You know what the difference is between you and us. You developed technology for peace and then adapted it for war. We developed it for war and then figured out peaceful uses afterward. Guess which approach works better right now?" The Dominion fleet began to retreat, but humanity wasn't finished. The International Space Station, long suspected by conspiracy theorists to be more than it seemed, shed its civilian facade. Hidden weapon systems, maintained in secret by a coalition of world powers, opened fire. All those years, General Baker said, watching another alien ship fall. All those black-budget projects everyone questioned. The secret space programs, the classified research, everything humanity built out of fear and paranoia. It was worth it. The fleet commander stared in horror as his ships fell one by one. Their advanced technology, refined over thousands of years of peaceful expansion, was being systematically destroyed by weapons designed by humans who had spent their entire history preparing for war. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "the humans, they're not just fighting back. They're studying us. Every ship we lose, they're gathering data, learning, adapting." The commander knew what this meant. Humanity wasn't just defending itself, it was preparing for the next phase. Even as his fleet burned, humans were reverse engineering their technology, finding ways to improve it, weaponize it. As the last Dominion ships prepared for emergency faster than light jump, they received one final message from Earth. "Next time, do your homework. Humans don't just fight wars. We spend the peace preparing for them. And thanks for the tech. We'll put it to better use than you did." The surviving Dominion ships fled, leaving behind a graveyard of destroyed vessels in Earth's orbit. But they had left something else too: the knowledge of faster-than-light travel, advanced energy systems, and countless other technologies that humanity would now adapt and improve. The war wasn't over, it was just beginning. And humanity was already preparing for round two. The massive warehouse in Area 51 buzzed with activity as hundreds of engineers and scientists swarmed over the captured Dominion technology. Pieces of alien ships lay scattered across the floor like a giant mechanical puzzle waiting to be solved. Dr. Robert Wilson stood in front of a holographic display, his eyes bright with excitement as he explained his findings to the military brass. "It's actually quite funny," he said, pointing to the alien engine core. "Their technology isn't advanced because it's complex. It's advanced because it's simple. They've had so long to perfect it that they took all the complicated parts out." General Baker raised an eyebrow. "And that's good news." "It's fantastic news," Wilson grinned, "because simple means we can understand it. And what we can understand, we can improve." He pulled up another display showing the alien metal structure. "Look at their hull material. It's perfect for peaceful space travel. Lightweight, radiation-resistant, great for long-term voyages. But, the general prompted. But they never thought to layer it. Never considered adding ablative armor or reactive plates. They built ships to explore, not to fight." Wilson's smile grew wider. "We've already drawn up plans to improve it. Give us a month, and we'll have something 10 times stronger." Across the globe, similar scenes played out in research facilities. In Russia, scientists discovered that the Dominion's energy shields could be overloaded by rapidly changing frequencies, something humans had learned from decades of electronic warfare. Chinese engineers found ways to miniaturize the alien power cores, making them suitable for smaller combat vehicles. In a secure lab under the Indian Ocean, Dr. Emily Carter made perhaps the most significant breakthrough. "Their faster-than-light drive," she announced to her team. "It's based on manipulating space-time. But they're so careful with it, so gentle. They treat it like fine china." She brought up a simulation on her screen. "What if we weren't gentle? What if we pushed it harder, faster?" The simulation showed a modified drive creating not just a tunnel through space, but a shockwave. "We could turn their peaceful transportation technology into a weapon they've never imagined." The Dominion surveillance ships, hiding at the edge of the solar system, watched in growing horror as humans took their technology apart and rebuilt it into something new. Something dangerous. "They've begun testing," a Dominion observer reported to the High Command. "They're launching ships, but they're not like our designs anymore." The first human-modified spacecraft rose from a hidden base in the Mojave Desert. It looked nothing like the sleek, peaceful Dominion vessels. This ship bristled with weapons, its hull layered with armor that could shrug off energy weapons. Where Dominion ships were built for the quiet exploration of space, this vessel was built for war. "Look at what they've done to our beautiful technology," a Dominion scientist whispered, watching the test flights. "They've turned everything into a weapon. Even our medical scanners. They've modified them to target weak points in ship armor." But the biggest surprise came when humans tested their first modified FTL drive. The Dominion observers expected a standard faster-than-light jump. Instead, they watched in shock as the human ship's drive activated, creating a ripple in space-time that not only moved the ship but sent a devastating wave of distorted space outward, tearing apart 3 asteroids in its path. Back on Earth, Dr. Wilson stood with General Baker, watching the test results come in. "You know what their biggest mistake was?" Wilson asked, reviewing the data. "They gave us their technology thinking it would show us a better way, a peaceful way. And instead," Baker asked. "Instead, we showed them that every technology, no matter how peaceful its original purpose, can be improved, can be weaponized." Wilson turned to face the general. "They've had 10,000 years to perfect their technology. We've had 2 months to turn it into something they never imagined possible. In orbit, the first fleet of human-modified ships prepared for their maiden voyage. They weren't beautiful like Dominion vessels. They weren't peaceful. They were warships, built by a species that had spent its entire history preparing for fights exactly like this one. The Dominion had made a critical error. They had given humanity the keys to the stars, never considering that humans would immediately start looking for ways to turn those keys into weapons. The bridge of the EWS Vengeance hummed with tension as Earth's first war fleet prepared to jump into Dominion space. Captain Mark Roberts sat in his command chair, looking at the holographic display showing their first target, a Dominion colony world called New Paradise. "Funny name for our first attack," Roberts muttered, studying the planet's defenses. The Dominion had built the colony as a luxury resort world, filled with beautiful cities and peaceful ships. They had never imagined it would face a human assault. "All ships report ready, Captain," his first officer announced. The fleet of 50 ships, each built using modified Dominion technology, waited in formation. They looked nothing like the elegant alien vessels. These were dark, angular warships bristling with weapons. "Send the message to Earth Command," Roberts ordered. "Operation Payback is go." The fleet activated their modified FTL drives simultaneously. But unlike the gentle space-folding technology of the Dominion, these drives ripped into space-time like angry wolves. The fleet didn't just appear over New Paradise. They arrived in a wave of spatial distortion that overwhelmed the colony sensors and scrambled their communications. By all that's sacred, the Dominion colony administrator watched in horror as the human fleet emerged from FTL. "They've turned jump drives into weapons. That's not possible." But humans had only started showing what was possible. The fleet split into pre-planned attack groups, each targeting specific objectives. The Dominion's defensive ships, designed for peace with minimal weapons, didn't stand a chance against vessels built by a species that had spent centuries perfecting the art of war. "Look at their defenses," Roberts smiled grimly. "They built their shields to stop energy weapons and missiles. Let's show them something new." He gave the order, and the Vengeance fired its main gun, a modified version of the Dominion's terraforming beam. The original technology was designed to carefully reshape planetary surfaces for colonization. The human version, it carved through the colony's shields like they weren't there, leaving a molten crater where a defense platform had been. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "the other colonies are beginning to respond. They're mobilizing their fleets." "Perfect." Roberts checked the mission clock. "Right on schedule. All ships, commence Phase 2. The human fleet scattered, each ship jumping to a different Dominion world. But they weren't retreating. They were spreading the attack. The modified FTL drives let them jump faster than the Dominion could respond, hitting multiple targets before the aliens could organize a defense. On Earth, General Baker watched the operation unfold. "Send word to the resistance cells," he ordered. "Tell our friends on the occupied worlds, it's time." Across 3 Dominion colonies, carefully hidden resistance fighters emerged from hiding. Armed with human-modified weapons and trained in guerrilla warfare, they struck at key targets. The Dominion, who had never faced serious military resistance, found themselves fighting enemies they couldn't see. "This isn't possible." A Dominion commander watched his tactical display in horror. "These humans, they're not just attacking us. They're teaching our subjugated worlds how to fight." Back on the Vengeance, Roberts received the latest battle reports. In just 6 hours, human forces had struck 17 targets, destroyed 32 Dominion ships, and sparked rebellions on 3 worlds. And they had lost exactly 0 ships. "Send the message," he ordered. The same transmission went out to every Dominion world in range. "This is humanity's response to your invasion. You came to Earth expecting easy prey. Instead, you found a species that has spent its entire history preparing for war. And now we're going to teach the galaxy what that means." The Dominion High Command received reports from across their empire. Humans weren't just fighting back. They were systematically dismantling everything the Dominion had built. Every piece of technology the aliens had developed for peace was being turned into a weapon. Every defensive measure they had created was being bypassed by humans who had spent millennia learning how to break defenses. Should we attempt to negotiate? A Dominion advisor suggested. A high commander stared at the reports of burning worlds and spreading rebellion. I fear, he said quietly, that we have awakened something that cannot be stopped through negotiation. We wanted to add humanity to our empire. Instead, we showed them the way to the stars. And they're going to use that knowledge to tear our empire apart. In a hidden bunker on the Dominion world of Greenhaven, Major Lisa Cooper watched as her alien students practiced disassembling and reassembling human-modified weapons. The blue-skinned inhabitants of this world had lived under Dominion rule for 3 centuries. Now they were learning how to fight back. "You're all thinking too much like them," Cooper told the group. "The Dominion believes in direct attacks, fancy technology, and overwhelming force. That's why they keep losing." She picked up one of the modified rifles. "We humans learned a long time ago. The biggest gun doesn't always win. Sometimes the smartest fighter does." Across 20 different worlds, similar scenes played out. Human military advisors, sent in disguise before the main attacks, were teaching conquered species the art of guerrilla warfare. Centuries of human military history, everything from the American Revolution to modern insurgency tactics, were being passed on to eager students. On the Dominion capital world, alarms blared as another supply depot exploded. The High Command watched in frustration as their carefully ordered empire descended into chaos. Their security forces, trained to deal with peaceful populations, had no answer for these new tactics. "These humans," a Dominion security chief growled, "they're worse than just fighters. They're teachers. They're showing every species we ever conquered how to resist us." In Earth's orbital command center, General Baker reviewed the latest intelligence. Status report on Operation Underground. His aide brought up a holographic map showing the spread of rebellion across Dominion space. "Better than expected, sir. The winged ones from Sector 7 have already liberated 3 moons. The crystal people of the Inner Rim have cut off 6 major supply routes. And the desert dwellers, well, they turned out to be exceptionally good at sabotage." Baker nodded with satisfaction. Humanity hadn't just brought weapons to this fight. They'd brought knowledge. Centuries of warfare, resistance, and revolution had taught humans countless ways to fight against superior forces. Now they were sharing those lessons. Back on Greenhaven, Cooper's students were putting their training to use. The Dominion's massive warships hung in orbit, seemingly untouchable, until small human-designed stealth craft started slipping through their defenses. The aliens had never considered that someone would make ships specifically designed to avoid detection. "Remember," Cooper told her team as they prepared for another raid, "the Dominion thinks in terms of grand battles and epic confrontations. We humans, we learned that sometimes the best way to win is to never fight fair at all." The rebellion spread faster than anyone had expected. Species that had been conquered for thousands of years suddenly found their voice and their weapons. Human engineers helped them modify their own ancient technologies, turning simple tools into powerful weapons. On a Dominion battleship, a commander watched in horror as another colony fell to the rebels. "How are they doing this? We outlawed weapons on these worlds centuries ago." His answer came in the form of a transmission from a rebel leader. "The humans taught us that anything can be a weapon. Their first spaceships, modified ballistic missiles, their medical scanners, modified radar systems. They showed us how to look at everything differently." In a secret meeting on Earth, the United Earth government received representatives from 30 different alien species. Each had come to learn, to ally, and to fight. Humanity offered them something the Dominion never had: respect as equals and the tools to defend themselves. "Your people," a crystalline being told the human representatives, "you understand something the Dominion never did. Peace isn't just the absence of war. Sometimes peace must be fought for." General Baker stood at the meeting's end, addressing the gathered aliens. For centuries, the Dominion built an empire based on the assumption that peace comes from suppressing the ability to fight. We humans know better. Real peace comes from being strong enough to defend it. As the meeting concluded, reports came in from across the galaxy. The Dominion's perfect empire was crumbling, not from massive battles or overwhelming force, but from 1,000 small cuts. Humanity had taught the galaxy's oppressed peoples something the Dominion had never expected: how to fight back. And now, the empire that had ruled for 10,000 years was learning a harsh lesson. Sometimes the most dangerous weapon isn't a gun or a ship or a bomb. Sometimes the most dangerous weapon is knowledge. And humans had just armed the entire galaxy with it. The Dominion Emperor stood in his golden palace, watching his capital city burn. Rebel ships, led by human commanders, had broken through the planet's defenses using tactics that no one in 10,000 years had even imagined. How did it come to this? He asked his advisors. We ruled the galaxy. We had peace for millennia. Then one species, one single primitive species, dismantled everything in less than a year. On the main attack ship, Admiral Thompson watched the Imperial City through his viewscreen. Earth's flagship, the EWS Reckoning, hung in low orbit alongside ships from 20 different rebel species. What had started as humanity's fight for survival had turned into a galaxy-wide revolution. Status report, Thompson ordered. His alien communications officer, a former Dominion slave with 4 arms, worked all his control panels at once. The Western continent has surrendered. The Eastern forces are asking for terms, and the Imperial Palace. He paused, mandibles clicking in what humans had learned was a smile. They're sending a message. The Emperor's face appeared on the main screen. Once proud and confident, he now looked tired and beaten. We wish to discuss terms of surrender. Thompson leaned forward in his chair. I think you're confused. Your Majesty, we're not here to discuss terms. Earth's terms were made clear when you first attacked us. Don't start what you can't finish. Across the galaxy, the scene repeated itself. Dominion worlds fell one after another, not to overwhelming force, but to the combination of human military expertise and the desperate courage of freed slaves. The Empire had never built its military to fight a real war. They had never needed to, until now. In the Imperial War Room, the last loyal generals watched their empire collapse. Look at this, one said, pointing to a tactical display. The humans don't even have the largest fleet, but they've taught every rebel force how to fight in ways we never imagined. The display showed the fall of another Dominion stronghold. The rebels hadn't attacked it directly. They had used human-designed stealth ships to slip past the defenses, human-modified weapons to disable key systems, and human tactics to create chaos behind enemy lines. These humans, another general said, they think differently. We see a farming tool, they see a potential weapon. We see a transport ship, they see a possible bomb. They look at everything and ask, how can this hurt my enemy? Back on the Reckoning, Thompson received another transmission. This one came from Earth Command. Admiral, the Dominion's outer worlds have all surrendered. Their inner defense fleet has joined the rebels. The Emperor is asking to surrender personally. Thompson looked at his bridge crew, a mix of humans and aliens, all working together. A year ago, humanity had been alone in the galaxy, facing an alien invasion. Now they were leading the largest revolution in galactic history. Send word to all ships, he ordered. The Emperor surrenders in person, or we continue the attack. In his palace, the Emperor watched his options disappear one by one. His mighty fleet, once the pride of the galaxy, had been outmaneuvered by human tactics. His advanced technology had been turned against him by human engineers. His absolute authority had been broken by human-inspired rebellions. To think, he said to his last remaining advisor, we attacked Earth because we thought they were primitive, because they fought among themselves. We never realized. Realized what, Your Majesty? That their fighting among themselves had taught them more about warfare than we learned in 10,000 years of peace. The Emperor's surrender was broadcast across the galaxy. He walked onto the reckoning with his head held high, but everyone could see the truth. The mighty Dominion Empire, which had ruled for 10,000 years, had been broken in less than one by a species they had dismissed as primitive. As Thompson accepted the Emperor's formal surrender, he remembered something he had learned in military history class years ago. The most dangerous enemy isn't the one with the biggest weapons. It's the one who knows how to use whatever weapons they have. The Dominion had ruled through peace and technological superiority. Humanity had survived through centuries of warfare and constant innovation. In the end, the galaxy learned which approach was more effective when the peace was finally broken. 1 year after the Emperor's surrender, Earth hosted the first Galactic Council meeting. The United Nations building in New York, once nearly destroyed by the Dominion's first attack, now served as the meeting place for representatives from over 100 freed worlds. General Baker, now serving as Earth's representative, looked around the renovated General Assembly Hall. Beings of all shapes, sizes, and colors filled the seats, former slaves and former masters, all equal now. It was probably the first time in galactic history that so many species had gathered as equals. Quite a change from our first contact, isn't it? Admiral Thompson said, standing beside him. The old admiral had aged during the war, but his eyes still held their sharp gleam. Hard to believe it all started because they thought we'd be an easy conquest, Baker replied, watching a group of crystalline beings discussing trade agreements with floating gas creatures. Now look at us, teaching the galaxy how to rebuild itself. The main session began with Earth's president addressing the assembly. 1 year ago, we faced extinction. Today, we gather to ensure no species ever faces that threat again. The Dominion maintained peace through force and fear. We propose something different, peace through strength and mutual respect. The new Galactic Charter was surprisingly simple. Every species had the right to defend itself. Every world had the right to choose its own path. And most importantly, no one had the right to force their way of life on others. In orbit, the combined fleet of the new Galactic Defense Force stood guard. The ships were a mix of styles. Elegant Dominion designs modified with human warfare concepts, human warships upgraded with alien technology, and new hybrid vessels that took the best from every species. You know what the funny thing is? Dr. Wilson said, now serving as head of the Galactic Technology Exchange Program. The Dominion actually did bring peace to the galaxy, just not the way they intended. He gestured to a group of alien engineers studying human military history. They brought us all together, showed us the stars, and then made the mistake of trying to keep us down. Now every species is learning from each other. Human military tactics, Dominion technology, crystal people energy systems, desert dweller stealth techniques. We're all growing stronger together. In the former Dominion Palace, now converted into a museum of galactic history, the last exhibit showed the famous message Earth had sent during the first attack. F** around and find out. Below it, a new plaque read, "The day humanity taught the galaxy its most important lesson. True peace comes not from suppressing strength, but from respecting it." Back in the council chamber, representatives voted on the final measures. The former Dominion worlds would be given full independence. A combined defense fleet would protect trade routes. And most importantly, a new military academy would be established on Earth, where all species could learn from humanity's long history of warfare to better defend themselves. Humanity went from facing extinction to teaching the galaxy how to defend itself, Thompson mused, watching the votes come in. All because the Dominion couldn't bother to study our history before attacking. The final vote was unanimous. The new Galactic Charter was ratified, creating not an empire, but a confederation of free worlds. Earth, the youngest member of galactic society, would serve as its primary military advisor and training ground. As the assembly ended, Baker found himself talking to a young Dominion officer, one who had joined the rebellion early. "What made you switch sides?" he asked. The alien smiled. Something they'd learned from humans. when I saw how you fought back. The Dominion taught us that peace meant everyone following the same rules. You humans showed us that real peace means being strong enough to let everyone follow their own path. The first Galactic Council meeting ended with a celebration. Ships from 100 worlds lit up Earth's night sky with spectacular displays. On the ground, humans and aliens mingled freely, sharing stories and learning from each other. Earth had not only survived, it had changed the galaxy forever. The species that the Dominion had dismissed as primitive had taught the stars themselves a lesson. Never underestimate those who seem weaker than you, because sometimes those who know how to fight are the best at building lasting peace.